So we've done a couple of illustrations of what the target is, right? But understand that target's going to be important because when we start doing ads, the target is going to look something like this. Let's say it's a circular point. Now, a circular point could be, and this is going to be a bad illustration of the US, but that's a US map there, right? It could be the whole US. The circular point could be the entire world. The circular point could be just the tip, the Florida, right? The circular point could be just Miami, the 305, okay? Let's do it that way. So that circle, that radius has to be predetermined before you start thinking about what your ads are. So now let's say you're a shop and you're in Miami and you're in the zip code. Well, give me a zip code in Miami. What, 331-239? Okay. Wherever that zip code is, let's say that zip code is over here. Now, you have to think about how many people will come to your shop if you're a physical location and how far that ride is. So this could be a 10-mile radius, like this. This could be a 20-mile radius. It could even be a 30-mile radius. So geographically, you have to think about if you're driving people to your business, how far are they going to come? So if you're a local market, you have to think of it that way. You can use zip codes. You can use cities, right? You can use what they call DMAs, which are market areas, and that's a little bigger than a city. Like in this case, the DMA might be Miami and Fort Lauderdale. That could be a DMA. Now, every time you do that, your population will grow, right? So here would be 100K, and I'm just making up these numbers here. Miami could be, 1.2 million. The DMA could be 2.7 million, okay? How many are in the total US? The total US has what, 330 million, as we know right now? So that is the total US market. So you have to figure out where you want your ads to be placed. So you have to look at your target. Now, this is a geographic target. That's one way of targeting. The next thing you could do is look at what they like. So maybe interest. So in our case, let me erase this. In our case, what was the interest? They wanted to be business, right? Maybe they needed to be students. Maybe they wanted to be learners. Maybe they could be professional. So we're starting to build that psychographic profile of who that target is. So you could have some interest there as well. And Google will give you this. Facebook will give you this. They'll give you interest that you can choose from. Different ideas there. You should really know it before you go in. That's because you do your research before you get to this point. But if you don't, you can always ask Google or Facebook for help, and they'll give you some ideas. So that's another target that you can use. You can also use age, right? You can use income. So there's a lot of different demographic and psychographic profiles that you can pick to get to the target. Now let's explain this a little further. Let's break this down and let's talk about your persona, okay? All right, so a persona is going to be that individual that will buy your product time and time again, over and over. That's a persona. Now, it's a group of the same individuals. So when we make this persona, we sort of want to build a little grid, and I'll share some exercises with you to do this, okay? Where we want to look at pain points. So remember we asked ourselves, why would this person buy the product? Why would they buy our service? Because they're in pain, they have a need to be filled, they're looking for something here. So we want to look at some pain points. How am I going to help solve their pain? How am I going to ease their pain? We want to look at their likes and maybe their interest. We want to look at their demographics, meaning their age, things of that nature. Maybe we want to understand their hobbies. Maybe we want to understand their family life, right? Maybe we want to understand their social life. And we also want to understand what social channels they're on. Everything's going to be built based upon what your needs are. There's there's free software out there actually that can help you build personas. But these are the basic things that you want to try to understand. Why would somebody need you? What's the pain point? How are you going to solve their problem? How are you going to fill their need? What are their likes? What are their dislikes? What are their interests? What's the demographic? How old are they? How much money do they make? What's their family life? Are they married? Are they divorced? What's their social life like, right? Are they out there? Are they active? Do they go on vacations? Do they have any hobbies? Do they have social media channels? And if so, what channels are they on? This is important, this channel piece, because we're going to want to, remember we were asking earlier, where are they? So we need to know where they are, not only geographically, but where are they online? So if you're putting an ad out, let's say you have a budget to spend, you're putting an ad out on Facebook, and your audience is females 18 to 30. Is Facebook a good place to put an ad? Why do you say no?
Like people are more into Instagram now.
They're most likely they're on IG, right? Although you get both with Facebook and IG, but probably not the best place to put an ad because your audience is not there. If your audience was men between the ages of 45 and 60, would Facebook be a good audience for you?
Yes.
Possibly, right? It's better than the other one, depending upon your product. What about LinkedIn? Would that be a good place to advertise? It would be if it was a professional type service too, right? So the product is gonna dictate a little bit where you go. There's always TikTok, which is the fastest growing channel out there right now. And hopefully they don't ban it soon, but I think that's a good channel to go with, right? For the younger audience, of course, but even old guys like me are on TikTok now, right? It's the fastest growing. They have 170 million US users right now, so they're growing really fast. So that channel is really important. The other part about that channel piece is the messaging. The message you create has to land on the channel a certain way. So the message you create has to land on channel a certain way. So that's going to be important too. So you want to make sure you focus on that. So your persona is going to represent that bigger target, and you should probably have 3 personas, maybe 4 at the most. But 3 that you can focus on that you know are going to generate revenue for you and generate sales. Remember, our goal was to what? To sell more water, right? So we got to make sure that persona is going to buy that water. Okay? All right, so that's the target piece. Now, let's talk about the budgeting for a second. I have $1,000. I have $1,000. We know, based on our demographics, that our audience is on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Okay? We know that that's the majority of where our audience is. We have $1,000, and I have 4 weeks. Week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. How should I spend that $1,000? Give me some ideas. What would you do in week 1?
I'll put 40% of YouTube, 40 on IG, and 20.
40 here, 40 here, and 20 here. Okay, I like your percentage. Let's stick with percentages. I like that. Okay. You know what? Let me think about this for a second. Let's do this. Let's do 1,000 a week. Let's make it simple. All right? And let's go. I'm going to make it 4,000 for the month, which is 1,000 a week. And let's change this to dollars rather than percentage so we can see the dollars roll out. All right? So in this case, that would be 420, right? 200. Like that? Right? That's 1,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's week 1. Okay, anybody have any other suggestions? How do you know he's right?
By testing?
Yeah.
Week 1, do we know he's right yet?
No.
No. You could put different numbers on there, you don't know if you're right. So we don't know. So this is an estimate based on maybe gut, maybe based upon some previous competitive research you've done. It's pretty good. I like the idea.
I mean, I
You know.
by the age that you put for the water, which was in the mid-20s.
Yeah.
So I kind of based myself.
Okay. Good. So you've done some analysis. That's the most important piece. So you've done some analysis in your head. That's fine. Okay. Now, let's say your goal here is to convert. Okay. But let's say now you're in week 2. Instagram doesn't convert much. Your highest converter is YouTube right now in week 2. So what do you do in week 2?
Increase in YouTube.
You increase more to YouTube, then how would you change it?
Like 300 from IG to YouTube and leave 100 on IG.
So put how much on YouTube now?
So 700.
700?
And then 100 on IG.
100 on IG, and keep 200 here. Okay. Now,
I wouldn't take that much because
That's
it's
a lot.
still the second week.
Yeah.
And we have results after the third one, right?
okay, good. That's be a little more safe. So you'll ease in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So what would you do to change it?
I would not do it.
You do
I will not do it.
You do 600.
Or keep it the same.
All right. So let's say the state, and then you get the results back week 3, and you find out now, surprisingly, that IG has become better. Then what do you do?
So you go back to 400.
You move it again, put 400 back here, and then what do you make YouTube back out?
Keep it at 400.
400, and keep this at 200? So you're back again. All right, and then you find out YouTube bounces back. Do you change it one more time?
You can do 5, 3, and 2.
5, 3, and 2, like this? Okay. All right. So, extreme examples here. Extreme examples. I personally wouldn't go up and down, up and down, up and down like that on a week-to-week basis. You can. I mean, you can if you want. Okay? But what if we did a different scenario? What if we did a different scenario? Let's say I have $1,000 to spend a week, right? And I created Ed A. And for Ed A, I spent the same, 244, okay? Week 1. And then I created Ed B, and I did the same.
That's what you will do?
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I have 2 ads that ran to the same target, same amount to spend. Now I see that for ad B, YouTube won. For ad A, I saw that Facebook won. I've got $2,000 left to spend, okay? Which ad do I use? Do I use ad A or ad B? Or do I continue using both
Both and relocate like budget.
and reallocate the budget? Okay, but then do I eliminate Instagram completely since it didn't perform? No, I wouldn't, right. So that's the other scenario. So here's the idea. Let's say I have $4,000 a month. The first thing you should do is create 2 ads, right? That's called A/B testing. Spend 25% of the budget to test which ad is going to perform better in which channel. And then come back and spend the other 75% of the budget in the other channels. Now, this is all like Monday morning quarterbacking, right? There's no right or wrong here. Remember what we're doing. We have that goal here, the strategy, right? And then the execution, and then we're measuring over here. So every time we do something, we're tweaking it and making it better. So that's sort of the process. It's always a continuous process that you want to do that. So I always try to let it go out. I would let it go out 4 weeks to see where you're at. That's probably going to get you your best results in that given time. Okay. Any questions on that concept? Remember that there's no right or wrong here. There are things that are going to work and things that are not going to work. The key is, let's not blow your budget on the things that don't work, right? Spend the money on the things that will work. You're not going to know that until you get through the process. So I had someone who owned the business who wanted me to help them with their ads, and I didn't even start helping them yet, and they called me back up a couple days later, and they said, "Hey Ken, I had a company reach out to me and they guarantee me that they're going to get these results in 2 weeks." I said, "Well, I don't guarantee that." I said, "So if you feel more comfortable with them, then I think that you should get them to help you." No, I'm not saying that. I said, "Well, what are you saying?" I said, "Well, there is no guarantees. There's no magic here. You have to go through the process." I've seen ads work that were humming along and then they take off, they went viral, and I say ads that just drop. And there are tons of stories like that. So the idea is to keep disciplined and to stay the rhythm. Now remember, this is the paid media, the Google Ads stuff. Remember, if you're going to drive business to a website, you need 3 types of traffic. You need the paid traffic, you need the owned traffic, the blogs, the social media, things like that, and you need the referral traffic. And social media is another form of traffic as well. So you need, the more traffic you have coming into your website, the more opportunity you have for conversion. Okay?